Hello, Miss Cat. I think I should say ahoy. Is that how you say it in Czech? Please tell us who you are, where you studied, and just all about you. Please take it away.
My name's 𝗟𝗧𝗧'𝗦, and I studied abroad last spring semester. Actually, a year ago today is when I left my hometown of Pittsburgh to go to Prague. I just had the most wonderful time. And when I'm not studying abroad, I study at Adelphi University on Long Island in New York. And I'm a senior, so I'll be graduating soon.
Oh my goodness. Do you have those end of the year jitters? Not sure what's going to happen next?
I'm definitely excited and nervous, and I'm making the best of it, to be honest.
Yeah. So guys, let's take the elephant out of the room as we always do. Kat, what happened in spring 2020?
So obviously my first couple months there were the best, and unfortunately with the pandemic really bad. The AIFS abroad program had to be canceled, and that was disappointing. But I think the lessons that I have learned from that, of just not wasting time and not taking any moment for granted.
Yes.
Not that I ever went into the study abroad process ever wasting any moment or ever not taking advantage of an opportunity to learn something or to go somewhere. But I think for someone who thought that they got the message, it was really a big slap in the face of you can never take too much advantage of a moment.
Find your limits and exceed them a little bit, because it is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Now, Prague. So did you know right off the bat, this is where I want to study abroad? Did you even want to study abroad? Let's talk about that. Freshman year, you're coming to Adelphi University. Did you even know what study abroad was? Did you want to study abroad? Did you know it was on your radar? Tell me a little bit about the history, the story, if you will.
So I was actually born in England and grew up in the United States. So I've always been a pretty globally minded person growing up. I've always loved to travel, and I've always loved to explore new things and go to museums and learn the history of wherever I am. I actually went to a different college freshman year and then transferred to Adelphi. But even the first college that I went because they had a great study abroad program. So that was like one of the top goals of my college career, was to study abroad. However, I always thought I would study abroad in France because I know French a little bit, and I thought it would be easier to acclimate to the society of people that I can converse with. When I got to Adelphi and made friends who were globally minded people like me, we all planned to study abroad at the same time so that we could all go visit each other as well. And my friend chose Paris before me. So I was looking through the list and I was on the AIFS website, and I remember I stopped at Prague and I didn't even click on it, and I was like, guys, I'm going to Prague. That's it. Because I had read a lot about the history, being a political science major, and I loved the history and I loved the culture from what I had known of it. And the more research I did, the more I fell in love, and I just knew that it was the place to go for me.
Excellent. So what are those 3 top things that you missed the most about your program after you returned to the States?
Oh, so number one thing that I miss the absolute most, I miss it every single day, is the transportation, the public transportation of Prague.
Yeah.
The tram and the subways are so easy to use. They're very self-explanatory, and they're always on time. Number 2 would be a new museum or a pop-up, or because you really have your finger on the pulse. If you're like me, you're constantly looking for things to do. So I definitely miss activities.
Yes.
And I miss hanging out with people. And then number 3, I'm 21, so I'm allowed to say this. I miss the beer of Prague, because I'm not a beer drinker, but I really do miss having a beer with meals. I think it's a great cultural experience, and I think it's fun and different.
Yeah, I was speaking to a resident director yesterday from Grenoble, France, Miranda. She's wonderful. She was saying to me, this is different because it's France, but she said, alcohol, wine, beer, it's something to be married to the food. It's not something to just consume. It's part of the culture. It's a staple of the cuisine. What's your coping mechanism, right, for missing those things? How do you fill those voids?
Well, to be honest, I've had a lot of trouble dealing with my reverse culture shock of coming home. And I think it's really important to be vulnerable about it, even in a setting like this. I struggled a lot. It was really hard coming back to not just the United States where my life is, but a different life that was exceptionally more boring. Ways that I cope and the ways that I would encourage other people to cope is I personally like cooking a lot. So making recipes from the Czech Republic maybe you can't find here. I like to read a lot.
Yeah.
I read historical fiction about Prague, and sometimes it's nice to pretend that I'm still there. And just talking about your experience, I think the reason why people study abroad talk about it so much is because it really is genuinely this life-changing experience that everyone should be able to experience.
Yeah.
So talking about it and sharing the memories and encouraging other people to branch out and see these and have these experiences for themselves helps me a lot.
Yeah, snaps for Cat. Couldn't have said it better myself. Have you made any recipes for family, friends? Are you bold enough to let people try the things that you're creating and cooking?
So fortunately, I'm not picky at all. It's not picky at all.
Cool.
We're both vegan.
Okay.
So we had to, like the vegan version, and honestly, there's not a lot of vegan food in the Czech Republic. I think right now I'm working on perfecting the recipes and the spices and the nuance levels of the heat and working with different things. And then once family is able to come over and friends are able to come over, I will probably try and even cook meat. I found a crock pot at Goodwill the other day, and I did think of making a Czech stew.
It's a good way to adapt the culture into your own practice, right? And then also just introduce it to people that didn't get to go on your program with you, because I think that's one of the harder things, is to have your loved ones, your colleagues, your friends who have not studied abroad in general, but specifically not on the program with you, to kind of, you know, adapt to like your new ways of life that you've brought home with you.
And I definitely talk about, oh, in Prague they do it this way. My friends are globally minded people, and they're like, oh yeah, well in France they do it like this, and in Germany they do it like this. So yes. I think being with like-minded people and being able to share it is a joy for everyone.
And we have a whole family AIFS that our alumni, not just our alumni ambassadors, but alumni of any program, you know, gets to be a part of. And it even if it's somebody you didn't meet on your program, you'll meet them through this network, and you have this forever family that's going to be able to relate to your experience. We've heard lots of things about the Prague housing. To me, I feel like I'm reading a storybook when I'm like hearing you guys describe, oh, I woke up to the view.
It looks like a dream that the tram drives past your window, and then the are like Easter egg colored across the building and across the mart. Gorgeous. It was amazing.
Yeah, terrible view to wake up to in Prague every day, guys. It, you know, just can't compare to anything you've ever experienced. Can you tell us a little bit about the housing? Did you have a roommate? Did you have communal areas within your housing? Just tell us a little bit about what that lifestyle was like.
So I had my own room with my own bed and my own desk and my own window and my own closet. And then communally, I shared with one other girl a room. I shared a bathroom and a little kitchenette with a sink. And a fridge and some places to store food. And that was really different, because when I share a room in university and college, in United States, I mean, it's 2 beds in the same room and you share the entire space. So I thought it was very different, and I thought it was very nice, because like if we wanted to hang out, if we wanted to talk, I could just like knock on her door next, like, hey. But also I had like my own place to sleep, and I had my own place to do homework, and I had to ask someone else to be quiet,
right,
which is nice. And then additionally to that, outside of our room was a communal kitchen and a communal television area. All the Americans were housed together.
Okay.
And I think that the other people that studied abroad from various countries were in various different buildings, but it wasn't difficult to connect with them. There are so many different group messages and so many different activities offered where you can go and meet them, and it's always an open invite. And there's just, we're all students, so we're all looking to make friends. So there's never any like pressure to be too cool or to like be like, oh, I don't know if they actually want me to come, because they want everyone to come, and the more the merrier.
When you study abroad with people that are not from your home university, it really kind of like forces you to branch out and to really kind of step out of your comfort zone if you do have one. For some reason, Kat, I don't think you're too shy. I think you're probably doing just fine before. Did you make a lot of friends that were not Americans, maybe local Czechs or international students, people that you'll visit in the future?
Even at my home university, I'm friends with a lot of international students. It's who I gravitate towards, because I'm so interested about every little culture in the world. So I definitely made a lot of friends from different countries. I made an Italian friend, a Romanian friend, and we talk sometimes, absolutely. But I definitely think that if you're going to make friends with someone that's not an American, one thing that you have to keep in mind is there's an American stereotype of being very disingenuous and saying like, oh, hi, how are you? Oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in forever. Let's go get coffee next week. And you're not going to go get coffee with that American. You're not. So it's just being very consistent and showing that you're very genuine and you want a friendship with them. And they're always willing. If they say they're going to call you at 3, they're going to call you at 3, and you should hold respect for them.
We deal with stereotypes across the board with all these different cultures. Do you feel like you've approached things differently now because you know those stereotypes exist?
I think definitely, especially with my international friends. I think that after being told it was an American stereotype, I think I noticed it with other Americans more.
Mm-hmm.
And
tell me about your classes. Did you have a favorite class? Did you have a class that was challenging? The language class, I know there's like a crash course in Czech. So tell me a little bit about all of your classes. And
so when I first got to the Czech Republic, first off the bat, we had a 2 crash course that was incredible. I know that there's a stereotype that Czech people are not friendly. That stereotype is completely untrue. My professor in particular was so kind and so willing to go the extra mile to get us excited about class. He brought his guitar one day and he sang us like Czech versions of English songs and just got us excited and sang us like old songs. And I found it very, very useful because I'm someone that I really understand the importance of learning a language and how much it can mean to a nation, especially the Czech nation, who has been this tiny little country that's been there for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds upon hundreds of years, and they survived and their language has survived, even though people outside of the Czech Republic don't really speak Czech. So that language is very important to them. So when you go the extra mile and you order in Czech, or you say thank you in Czech, or goodbye, and, you know, interesting little phrases that you don't hear in English, it's assimilating to the culture and belonging in a way that you wouldn't be able to if you didn't know the language. And I think it's really important. After the Czech course, I absolutely loved all of my courses. My favorite class there was a nationalism course that I took. The professor was just absolutely brilliant and knew what she was talking about and spoke about it confidently and answered any of all of our questions. I personally loved the subject material. I thought it was very interesting because of all of the nationalism that has spread across the United States or even Europe or, you know, all over the world. And it was important to learn. So I think why I really enjoyed it was a strong professor and strong subject material. And all of the subjects that are offered there have to do with history in some way. And I thought that was really interesting as well, because being there, all of the things happened, and then being able to see where all the things happened was really exciting for me, a little history.
Are you more of an experiential learner and you want to like be on site and physically touch the things and be there and have those experiences on site? Or are you more like, I really like the discussions, the in-classroom discussions, the maybe healthy civic debates, what have you? And did the program at Charles University, did it accommodate those learning styles?
I really genuinely enjoy both. And I think that Charles University did a great job of providing for both. I took a history course. There was a really good job of, this is where so-and-so happened, this happened, and that was really, really interesting for me. And being able to be there and see it and experience and have it tangibly in front of me was really just an amazing experience. You don't get that a lot in the United States. Conversely, the civic debates or like being able to sit and discuss an idea and make different connections, I think is also just because we can go to an art museum and I can look at it one way and 500 people are looking at 500 different ways. And if we're all discussing it, it opens my mind to different perspectives. That's always the goal, you know. I always want to see from different perspectives.
I'm very ready to go to Prague. All of you alumni ambassadors, and we interviewed the RD for Prague as well, Renata.
I love her.
Yes. Our RD staff is just kick butt. Everyone loves them. They want the best for you guys, not just during the program, but before and after. They miss you guys once you leave. Wonderful people. Can't say enough good things about them. Renata, included. Just wonderful, wonderful staff. Can you tell me a little bit about, oh no, you're hiding already. That's a good sign.
I'm trying to ask this question before.
I'm gathering that, you know, okay, it wasn't the most successful packing experience, but do you want to tell us maybe why? What are the shortcomings with packing, and how did you feel prepared with everything that AIFS had given you information-wise to make well-informed decisions when it came to packing?
I think genuinely this was a very personal problem. I got dressed up for this. Like, I was going for, like, going on the news, okay? That's me on the daily. And especially being, you know, in Prague, I'm not going to leave my heels home. Which I should have done because it's all cobblestone and you can't walk in heels anyway. I knew this. I did my research before I went to Prague, and I still said, I'm going to bring 3 heels to Prague. You honestly don't need that many pairs of shoes. You don't. You need one for walking, one for also walking. That's all you're going to be doing.
It's a pedestrian city for the most part.
I think my best advice to everyone would be just to pack with a buddy. Someone who knows what you actually wear and what you actually, because there are shirts that I pack and I take with me everywhere and I never even end up wearing. And that's, you don't have room for that. You don't have room to pack clothes for a whole semester and then have gifts to bring back. So just leaving extra room in your suitcase, going there is imperative. Even if you think it's not, it is. It 100% is.
Packing maybe sometimes induces stress, and then you don't want to do it with other people because their opinions are like climbing over you. And so you're like, no, this is an activity I have to do by myself. I need to only be mad at myself and be responsible for myself. But perhaps packing with a buddy is the way to go. A voice of reason to kind of say, why? Why are you doing this? Don't pack that. Did you do a lot of shopping when you were over there? Did you end up having to buy another suitcase?
A part of the reason I did in Prague was that it was a very inexpensive city. So that reflects in my not buying another suitcase, because another suitcase is another $100. I went thrift shopping a lot. If you're packing a jacket for a spring semester, pack one that you can leave, and then you'll have room, because that's really what I had to do. I had to leave a lot of clothes there to make room for the new ones that I brought. I think that was a good lesson for me to learn personally, was I don't need to be lugging around the same clothes all the time. I'm allowed to leave some clothes.
Give them to somebody who needs them. It's just stuff, right? You can let go of it and you'll still try to hold on to the experience. Make your study abroad time about the experiences and not necessarily like, what do I have and what don't I have? During your program, any AIFS weekend excursions, cultural social activities with Renata and the rest of your program participants? Did you have a favorite excursion that you got to go on?
One weekend excursion that we went on was to the 𝗦𝗢𝗖𝗑 of the Czech Republic. That was definitely one of my favorite excursions that I got to go on. Another thing that I did on my own, the Czech Republic's the most atheist country in the world.
Okay.
And however, they have churches from all over because of their rich history. So they have so many different churches all over. So every Sunday I would go to a different church and just sit there. And I didn't understand a word because I would go to the Czech version instead of the English version. So I'm not super religious. I just think that churches are so gorgeous, and it's a great place to just listen to a little Czech and see what you can pick up in your ear a little bit, see what you can pick up. Sit there and just stare at gorgeous, gorgeous churches, because any other time you can't really stand there for an hour. You know, it's kind of rude to stand there for a whole hour, but you could entire service and you could daydream your life away, you know. I thought that was great. Yeah,
I just the European architecture of a church or a cathedral or what have you, it's just so intricate. You're gonna have like neck pains because you're just looking up the whole time. We talked about friendships. We talked about kind of, you know, staying in touch with these people there after your program, and we talked a little bit about culture shock. But arriving to Prague, did you have a Toto, we're not in Kansas anymore moment?
Yeah, I definitely did. As someone that has traveled a fair amount before this, I was prepared. I had watched Honest Guide Prague, every single video. I'd done hours of research of walk through the city on Google Maps. I had a fair vision of what it was going to be like. And still, the second that I got off the plane, it was just, I was on level 10 excitement for the entire day. And it was just going from the airport to our dorms and then to dinner. And I was just on level 10 excitement all day because that was where I was going to be living. And I just remember like just getting off the airplane and being in the airport was just, even that was so exciting for me. And I've been in like 500 airports before in my life, but just like the now my new home airport for like the next couple months was just invigorating. I don't know how else to describe it.
No,
really.
that's amazing. Culture shock, you can describe it however you want. Some people, it's fear, it's your reservations, it's not being able to kind of step over that fence and like enjoy it for the first moment. And then you have culture shock where it's like, I know something beautiful is about to begin, and it's not fear, it's not anxiety, it's just this moment of I'm on the precipice of something. Repatriating home, what was that process like to get to a good headspace?
I'm not like being dramatic when I say it was really, really difficult. So obviously like I had to prepare before I left Prague is when I really started preparing, like 2 weeks before. And it was just like making sure that I was doing everything that I had wanted to do. And obviously I couldn't do all of it. What are things that you really enjoyed? Like, what are you really going to miss? And it was simple things like, oh, I can walk in the park and sit and read for hours and hours and no one's going to interrupt me. And so I did that one day, and I went to the thrift store another day, and I ate so much Czech food before I left. I was like bloated.
The goulash.
I was
heard all about it.
Yes, I was. Even being back in Pittsburgh was a really jarring experience for me because it had been, you know, usually it's like a couple weeks at most that I'm gone from the city, and I'd been gone, oh my gosh, it was the longest that I've ever been away from home ever in my entire life. So I think it was flipping it and excited about how jarring it was.
When you were repatriating home, not that this will ever happen again. We don't want another global pandemic, and we're gonna, you know, do everything we can do to avoid repatriating students home early. But did your RDs and your staff and fellow students, did you guys kind of have like a moment, this is now at a global status and we need to get you home safely? What did the staff and everyone do to kind of get you guys to prepare yourselves, maybe emotionally and also otherwise?
The entire AIFS staff throughout the entire, that could have been so much worse for every single student, but AIFS was understanding. They listened, they took into account they're not in the same situation. They all genuinely, you could see they didn't want us to go, you know. It was sad in another way, but just the way that they handled it was just absolutely impeccable and incredible. And I just want to say thank you to every single person that works at AIFS. Like, thank you so much, because that could have been awful if it would have been handled by the wrong people. But it was smooth, it was easy, and it was, you know, it wasn't easy, but it was as easy as it possibly could have been. I can't think of anything that they could have done better, truly.
Yeah. Every channel of this organization, safety is always at the forefront of everything that we do, every decision we make, every effect it's going to have on you guys during and after. We're just a team of people that really care about our students, really care about cultural exchange. Growth, personal, professional, academic, where you want to kind of go forward with your future, how this plays a role in that.
There was the Cat that existed before I went to Prague and the Cat that I am now, and they are two very different people. Living abroad is completely different from visiting abroad, and I think it really gave me a lot of perspective in my life. It really opened my eyes to the fact that, like, if you want to live a certain life, you can. And I think that was just like the most incredible experience ever for me. Because I grew up in a very small town with not a lot of people that hold the same views as me, you know, have the same, you know, social construction of the world as me. And, you know, I've always known I wanted to get out there. But then to live outside of the United States and see different cultures in that way, and, you know, traveling outside of Prague and seeing different cultures that way, I think it showed me, and I say this all the time, sometimes the world feels very, very big, and other times the world feels so, so small. That's really what I realized. My end goal has always been, you know, through high school and college has always been like, okay, I'm going to go to law school at some point, and I'm going to settle down and I'm going to become a lawyer. I've not really known what kind of law I want to go into, and I've not really known where I want to live or where I want to raise a family. And I think, honestly, living in the Czech Republic really opened my eyes to the fact that, like, okay, I can do that. If that is what I want to do, I can. But also, I think honestly, genuinely, I have a lot to do before law school, and I think that's okay. I know it's okay. Traveling is what makes me happy. That was the time of my life, you know. Every single day was something new, whether it be a new food, a new word, a new sentence, a new friend.
As an alumni ambassador, your job is to be an advocate for students that want to study abroad, to share your experience, to give students that comfort of knowing that it can be done and have a great time doing it. What are the reservations you hear? And in aggregate of that, what's the advice that you give students to make them feel comfortable to pursue it and take that leap?
I think it's very easy to give, you know, an unrealistic sort of pep talk. Oh, it'll change your life. Like, you're gonna enjoy it. I think getting someone to want to study abroad is not usually half the battle. A lot of times I hear money, which is valid, you know. If you have a passion and you use that passion, and you're unstoppable. You are. And that's like crazy. Once you realize that,
chill.
If you are having money problems with studying abroad, there are cities like Prague where you can go and you can get a nice meal for less than $10. And you can go to the grocery store and you can afford a whole week's worth of groceries for $20. There's places where you can go. There's places to find scholarships. And there's people like me and you that are here that want you to study abroad, that want you to have this opportunity, I'd break my back to help someone study abroad. And I think just getting them excited for the fact that I know for me, and I knew I was going to study abroad. There was no way that I was not going to study abroad. First starting that, it feels so far away. Like, I'm never going to get there. I'm never going to be able to complete all this visa paperwork. I'm never going to afford all these fees. I'm never going to get all the applications in on time. And it's just little by little by little by little you do, and then you feel like you're on top of the world after you've done it. And then to go and study abroad.
Pre-departure process, we have the alumni staff to guide you. Myself, I'm a program advisor. All day, every day, guys, I'll talk your ear off about whatever you want to talk about. The RD staff, they can talk to you pre-departure. Your admissions officers, I don't think I'm leaving anybody out. There's probably more people you can even talk to. Your home universities, those study abroad offices. All of these channels, we almost hand like the work over to you, and it's just up to you to take the first step forward. But everything is pretty laid out for you so that it's as easy it can be, so that you don't have that anxiety on you pre-departure, because we know emotionally you're like, oh man, this is a big life step. All the things that we can do to kind of help you prepare, whatnot, you know, we're going to do that 100%, but you have to kind of take that first step forward, dip your toe into the water, and we're going to hold your hand until you jump off the diving board. Even if it's something that you're just starting to think about, you don't have to have all the answers and everything figured out. We help with that as well. So if you have any questions for Kat, you can send those to us. I will get those to her, no problem. Before we leave, Kat, we're going to do our fun little speed round. I think it's fun. I like to hear your answers. I'm going to give you a word. You think of the first word that comes to mind in relation to your experience in Prague. We always start with my favorite food.
Goulash.
Goulash. So next one, transportation.
Tram. Tramway. That's the Czech word for tram.
Locals.
Funny and kind is what I would say. Yeah, I think the Czech humor and I have a very English sense of humor are very different, but they're mischievous and they're silly.
Landmarks. Could be natural, could be historical.
I would say the square where Jan Hus set himself on fire. I thought that was just incredible story, and I thought that was really interesting.
Architecture.
Soviet, I would say. Now they've painted over it, and you can tell the difference because of different colors, but there's still Soviet apartments that are there, and you know, they all look the same. And I was told a story of when one of this man that I met, when he was a little boy, he got lost and he couldn't remember which apartment was his because you can't tell the difference.
They all look the same. I have heard that, yes. And this is a really good one. One word to describe your entire experience, if you can.
Supernatural.
Ooh. Out of this world, literally. Any closing remarks before I say, how do you say goodbye again?
Nationalism.
Nationalism.
If you think you can do it, you can, and don't let anyone stop you. Study abroad if you want to, and make the most out of every single moment. Even if you're not studying abroad, make the most out of every single moment.
Thank you so much for joining us. You've given us so much new insight. Kat, Nationalism.
Nationalism.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.